Good morning. Welcome to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, thanking you for joining us today, this Tuesday morning, February 14, 2023. Hindi ko po sinadya ito na tapat lang sa cabinet, okay? Happy Valentine's to all of you out there. I do hope that couples, husband and wives will all celebrate the Valentine's today. Simple, grand, whatever it is, but most importantly, with feelings. Okay, parang sino ba yung kumanta ng feelings? Diba? Anyway, welcome to the program. Thank you for being subscribers of Cignal TV, for being viewers of One News, especially those who catch us on Facebook and on YouTube. Maraming salamat sa mga kaibigan nating mahilig sa Feathered Warrior who tell me that they watch the program as well. And of course, to our friends also in the Christian community, thank you very much for following agenda. Okay, thank you to PLDT, Home Fiber Optic Internet, for their facility, because without that, it becomes difficult to sustain a program online such as Agenda. Okay, so February 14, 2023, it's a Tuesday, and whether you are single, married, family, widow, etc., just reconnect and refresh your pleasant memories for this special day, okay? Ingat-ingat lang po dun sa mga lalapa ng tsokolate today, and always take care of your health. Let's go to our daily starter. Sorry, it is not very Valentine in terms of content, but I believe many of you will also appreciate it. And it is something that I thought of and I needed to express because I think it is very important. And it goes, don't wait for death to reunite the living. Medyo nakita ko lang po ito in life. I've observed this in life, especially here in the Philippines, that funerals have become reunions. And many families only get together during funerals, during burials, etc. And even friends comment on that. Pare, nagkikita na lang tayo pag may namamatay. And that thought came to me, why do we reunite? Why do we have to wait for death to reunite the living? So please, okay, especially today, it's Valentine's Day. Don't make it just a couple's day. Hey, I have nothing against couples really celebrating today, pero sa totoo lang, it's going to be like running a marathon. All the restaurants are going to be full because there will be people who will ceremonially, dutifully observe Valentine's Day, roses and all. Pero nako po, you have 364 days of the year to also express that. But anyway, reunite with the living, and don't reunite when somebody is dead. Okay, let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star, February 14, 2023, Tuesday. The headline, BBM says, Cha-Cha is not a priority. Coming in from Tokyo, the Philippines is capable of attracting more investments in the country and achieving its economic development agenda without amending the Constitution. President Bongbong Marcos said, it's not a priority for me because there's so many other things that we need to do first, that we can still do, we can achieve, we can still attain our goals but within the present Constitution. The way the Constitution is written. Okay, yan po ang sabi ni President Bongbong Marcos, and we will comment on that some other point. But in the meantime, President Marcos also commented on the Quad security idea, or the security arrangements or defense treaties with Japan. At the top of the front page, Marcos, security triad must not provoke South China Sea's tension. An appropriate visiting forces agreement, or VFA, with Japan will benefit the Philippines, but the proposed military agreement with Tokyo, as well as the planned trilateral security and defense pact with the United States, should not provoke tensions in the disputed China Seas, President Marcos said. Ayun po, kasi medyo there is already a belief that China will do something about Taiwan this year. And that is why all the players are ramping up their alliances. Taiwan is ramping up its drone-based defense system, etc. So ayun po, baka lalong uminit. It might fuel conflict if this trilateral or Quad defense pact is not properly communicated or laid out. Okay, now, DND, in the meantime, the Department of National Defense, slams latest incident with China in the Ayungin Shoal. It was offensive and unsafe, Defense Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said yesterday of a Chinese Coast Guard vessels beaming a military-grade laser light at a Philippine boat, blinding crew members on a mission to resupply a military outpost in Ayungin Shoal in the West Philippine Sea. Ayan po, if you recall, hindi po ito science fiction. If you remember, when nung nauso, when people came out with this laser pointer, people said, do not point it at somebody's eyes because it can blind people. Yan po, yung ginamit ng Chinese Coast Guard na laser light could blind people and could cause maritime accidents. So, ayan, nakuna ng picture. Image provided by the Philippine Coast Guard shows parang Green Lantern. Okay? A Chinese Coast Guard ship directed at the patrol and supply ship BRP Malapascua. Okay, yan na po. So, anyway, going to the right of the front page, Senator, Philippine tops bullying, youth bullying in 70 countries. Okay, out of 70 countries. At least 7 out of 10 students in the Philippine public schools have suffered bullying, ranking the country first among 70 with the problem, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian said. So, ayan po, medyo hindi na biro yan when we come up as number 1 in terms of school-based bullying. So, I'm sure that issue is going to become another hot topic. And further down at the center of the front page, we have a photo of the government and Japanese officials take part in a sake barrel breaking ceremony as the Metro Manila subway project breaks ground for the construction of the Anona Station and Camp Aguinaldo Station yesterday. Present were JICA chief representatives in the Philippines, Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista, Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte, and others. Okay. Meanwhile, Maharlika, ROTC, RCEP, among BBM priority bills. Okay. Yung napaka-unpopular, yun ang pinaprioritize. Ha? Kunyari, ayaw pa sa Chacha, para lang pagbigyan nyo na doon sa Maharlika, ROTC, and RCEP. Mga hilaw na offerings ng Malacanang at ng Kongreso. Meanwhile, registered marriages up by 48.2% according to the Philippine Statistics Authority. Sa awa ng Diyos, sana po magtagal yung mga marriages na yon. In Turkey and in Syria, quake death toll rises to over 33,000. Let us pray for the families who have lost loved ones, because I just discovered yesterday that the Philippines is supposedly, allegedly, one of the top 10 countries that is prone to earthquakes, second only to Japan daw. And the last two pieces of news, photo on the bottom, happy together at SM City North EDSA, another promotional offering of SM Shoemart, or I am aging myself saying Shoemart kasi po yung SM na yan, Shoemart lang dati yan. Napakaliit na tindahan ng sapatos. Ngayon, napaka-gigantic network of malls. Okay, last but not the least, SRA Board okays 440,000 metric tons of sugar imports. Okay, so ayun po. That is the wrap-up of the news today. And let's find out if Gabriel will roll out the Betamax already, or if I will have, if I will have a break before this. Gab, what is it going to be? Roll out the Betamax na? Or what? Okay, so roll out the Betamax, I suppose. Okay, we are going to talk malapusong usapan with someone medyo familiar siya. He's familiar to this program. Para siyang stockholder. Okay? I'm happy to hear about this recent promotion. Let's bring in our next guest. Gab, roll out the Betamax.
Dr. Beaver Tamesis is the president and CEO of the Asian Hospital and Medical Center. He previously served as president of the Pharmaceutical and the Healthcare Association of the Philippines, where he is now chairman emeritus. Tamesis was also managing director of Merck, Sharp, and Dome, or MSD, Philippines.
Okay, uy! mukhang tand yung kaibigan na. Dr. Tamesis, good morning!
Hello again, Cito. Long time no see.
You obviously you've obviously come from a vacation. You are
No. It's just the weather. Umiinit na, kaya flushed.
Ako namumutla na, hindi na ako naaarawan eh. Anyway, welcome and congratulations are in order. I suppose I did not expect your most recent appointment, but hey, it's a great deal. You are now the, what is your official title? President and CEO pa? Hindi ka na nakontento sa presidente. Gusto mo pa pati CEO, ha?
Well, that's what they offered to make. I guess they make it more attractive for me to come in.
Okay, but for those who are not familiar with Beaver Tamesis, okay, we always interviewed you regarding the pharmaceutical industry, your leadership position with the with the Pharmaceutical Association, or PHAB. But quite honestly, I never really got to ask you, what is your area of specialization and what's the connection with Or how does that help you run a hospital, a big hospital like Asian?
Well, to be honest, I've actually fully trained cardiologist and board certified here locally. And I even did a research fellowship when I was much younger at St. Louis University in Missouri. So yeah, I'm a fully qualified cardiologist. And why me here? To be
Mm.
honest, I think it's because I did have a lot of managerial experience, at least running a company such as MSD. And a lot of the information or the skills that you develop there are transportable naman. But of
Mhm.
course, Asian Hospital has its own unique set of challenges. And it's always very exciting every day. There's always something new, something to
Mhm.
address. At the same time, it has a fantastic potential, this particular hospital, the way it serves its community. It can be really a beacon for health in our country. So that's, I think, the challenge that was given me. And I said, hey, this is right up my alley. So yeah, here we are. Here we are.
Okay, but every time a chairman or a CEO and a president is appointed by a board or by the owner of the institution, you're generally given a prospectus and a set of goals or a vision for the next 10 to 15 years. I don't think anybody makes vision goals farther than 15 years anymore. What were the things pointed out to you as okay, Beaver, we want you to see this far, and can we do it? Because every time I drive by Asian Hospital, I'm like, wow, everything is popping up south of Metro Manila. All the skyscrapers. Nobody ever would think of skyscrapers in Alabang, in Santa Rosa. So you're going to be centrally located in the next hub for the next 15 to 20 years. What goals are you planning or do you have for Asian?
Well, number one is we need to be much, much more accessible because we've had, unfortunately or fortunately, that's the well-deserved reputation for being medyo premier or premium.
Mhm.
So right now, we really need to be able to democratize our offerings, make sure that the general public recognize that we do have the services that they deserve to be able to really get well, to be cured, if not be comforted. And we have actually all of these, particularly when it comes to the heart, when it comes to cancer, oncology. Our gastrointestinal facilities are fantastic over here. So all of these things that I think we should be able to democratize, make it much more available to the public, whatever social class they may belong to. And that's really if you walk into our lobby, it's actually on our wall. That
Mhm.
accessibility to the Filipino is something that we should be aiming for. It's going to be a long battle, but there are significant steps already that this hospital has been making. So I'm just glad to help try to accelerate that process.
Okay, so democratize, that means you're trying to change the impression that you are only for the rich and famous. I'm sorry, okay? I'm being very honest because I mean, that has always been there. Oh, Ayala, Alabang. Hello, bro. Sumakay ka na lang na ambulansya, humanap ka na ng ibang hospital. Baka ikamatay mo yung presyo dyan.
Well, maraming nabubuhay sa emergency room namin, I can tell you that.
Okay. Okay, so democratize, when democratization means social pricing, or is it, what's the strategy, Weaver?
Well, definitely one of the first things we did was really take a look at our pricing to make sure that we're actually quite reasonable and that a lot of our patients can actually afford it. One of the big things that we've managed to do is to get our surgeons to agree that for certain types of procedures, they'll just have an all-in package where pati yung mga surgical fees are all in already. So no additional cash out on the part of the patient nor of the HMO. So very, very predictable na yung mga pricing that we have for them. So that's something that we're also trying to expand the offerings that we have. In fact, for this particular Heart Month, we're actually expanding also our cardiovascular package for those who want to come in for a heart checkup. And we actually have these packages that at least would provide the patient a very good baseline in terms of the screening, the risk factors that they may have, so that they can better take care of their heart, and we can plan what are the strategies that we need to put in place for that patient to be able to avoid heart disease, heart attacks, etc.
Well, I hate to to be cliche about it, but this being Heart Month, we can't escape the need to discuss what you just talked about, because I think it's as good a time as ever, because I know so many people. I've lost a number of friends who, when their cardiologist said, "Boss, meron kang mukhang may baraka or mukhang may problem, why don't you come in? Let's do the screening, etc." Or you need the stent. And then the boss, Doc, gamot na lang. And ayun, kakagamot, nakalibing na sila o nakremate na sila. Okay? Hey, I'm brutal about it, because if these idiot friends of mine had listened to doctors like you, I would still appreciate their company, right? So I'm just being brutal about it, that, we cannot ignore heart conditions. Now, if people have been told or are feeling, lalo na yung mga tiga-Alabang, yung mga tiga-Santa Rosa, yung mga malapit dyan sa Asian hospitals, what is the process like? Kasi nowadays, mahirap kumontak ng doktor.
Right. There's several pathways that patients can take, right? If they want to inquire about our package, we do have our hotlines, particularly our Asian Hospital hotline of 8771-9000, local 5913, and we can provide all of the necessary information when it comes to the next steps, which particular test would be important. If you already have a regular cardiologist, please engage your cardiologist, engage in a discussion about needing a potential stress test, be it the treadmill exercise or having even a nuclear agent, just so that makita talaga yung flow of reagent through the muscles of the heart. Because that can be very, very helpful to determine whether or not there is a risk for potentially having an event in the future. And if it's negative, hey, the likelihood of having anything is actually very low, even lower. So it's really important to know what your risk is and then address these particular risk factors. Now, of course, smoking is obviously number one, the biggest risk factor that we have to get rid of, right? That's the most important. Then, of course, excellent blood pressure control would really...
Okay, wait a minute, Beaver. Let me stop you there. Because I just spoke with a young lady. She was 35. And, she just kind of like, how do you call it? Patagupa, puffing on an e-cigarette thing.
Right.
And I said, "Oh, you smoke?" "Oh, sir, no, this is an e-cigarette. It's water-based. It's not." And I said, "Do you understand that the only difference between what you're sucking at and the cigarette is the form? But they're all chemicals. They're both chemicals.
Right.
But you're the doctor. Is there really a difference? Because a lot of young people will tell you, boss, sir, ano lang to, e-cigarette lang to, hindi to sigarilyo.
Well, there's a reason why e-cigarettes or vaping is banned in many places. It's because the chemicals or the exhaust, what you breathe in, is still pretty dangerous to others, including yourself. So really, smoking, vaping, they're all lumped in the same category. So it's something, it's a habit that we really must break.
So most people kasi associate smoking or vaping with mouth and lung, but they don't understand that as you put stress on your lungs, it stresses the heart.
Right. Particularly the blood, because the blood actually picks up all of these chemicals, and the blood becomes hyperreactive now and can form these clots inside the arteries of our heart, leading to coronary events, or even in our arteries into the brain, which is why you can develop strokes. So these are two different things, a stroke in the brain and a heart attack, but basically it's the same process. Atherosclerosis, clot formation that suddenly can burst and leading to the event.
Yeah, because most people always think of cholesterol, they always think of bulalo and pork chop as the cause of blood clots or heart blocks. But any chemical that gets into the bloodstream, into the blood, will ultimately, if done consistently, regularly, will build up, accumulate, and that's what gets you.
Yeah, particularly from vaping and from smoking, there are hundreds of chemicals in there.
Mhm.
Nicotine is just the addicting agent to keep you on it. But
Mhm.
once you're on it, yan, tuloy-tuloy na yan. You can get exposed to all of these chemicals.
Mhm.
Now, of course, high cholesterol is also a major risk factor, right? So whether you source it from bulalo or whether it's because your own liver makes too much or cannot get rid of any circulating bad cholesterol anymore. The liver is actually central to this process. It makes cholesterol for when the body needs it, but it also collects, stores cholesterol. So if the liver is unable to collect and keep it away from the blood as we get older, that's an aging process. The liver's ability to collect that cholesterol and hang on to it declines with age, and it's particularly after menopause for the women. So which is why within 10 years after menopause, that's when we start seeing the surge in coronary events or heart events among women. But in men, happens anytime, whatever age we do, particularly if we smoke or if we are diabetic.
Yeah, well, you've raised two very good points this morning so far. First is cholesterol is not necessarily diet-based. It can be internal organ issue, and I do know that for a fact. But I have had Hepa B, so there's a bit of a compromise there. So can liver disease also trigger subsequent issues with cholesterol?
It's not necessarily a priority in terms of the major risk factors, liver disease. We don't see it among the really top causes. Liver disease, kasi what's important there is our ability to handle the circulating cholesterol.
Yeah.
Because the liver normally clears the blood of bad cholesterol. So
Okay.
if that ability of the liver is compromised, yun, tataas na yung cholesterol and in the bloodstream, and that can now cause the pagbabara ng mga ugat.
Gabriel, can you kindly not flash pictures of steak on the program? I'm a vegetarian. It is so offensive to me. Kainis eh. Sarap sakalin ito mga bata to eh. Anyway, okay, but the second point you raised that I used to actually talk a lot about it, but after a while, alam mo, in all of this political correctness, I didn't want to talk about it anymore. The thing about women post-menopause having because I actually saw a study, believe it or not, kahit na ang tamad-tamad ko mag-aral in college, later in life, I pick up all of these materials. And that study, I believe, in the States, pointed to the fact that women after menopause, when they're no longer having their periods, etc., iron would build up, etc., and then they started catching up with cardiac arrests. You're the cardiologist. Kindly explain.
Yeah, that's precisely the point. I mean, like hormones for women are actually protective against heart disease, right? The levels of estrogen that women have as they go through their cycles actually protects women against developing premature coronary disease. What negates that is smoking.
Okay.
A 35-year-old woman who is a smoker, hey, she's asking for trouble. Now, assuming women don't smoke and they hit menopause, it usually takes about may konting-konting estrogen na lumalabas pa sa ovaries. Not enough to cause menstrual flow, but just enough to maintain body functions for a while, particularly the liver. So that estrogen that's circulating or being released by the ovaries is still sufficient to help the liver maintain its function of clearing or collecting the bad cholesterol from the bloodstream. However, nauubos din yan. So by about between 5 to 10 years, we start suddenly seeing the surge in bad cholesterol levels among women of the postmenopausal age. And these are the women potentially now who are getting higher risk of developing coronary events. So it's at that point we have to have this discussion with our postmenopausal women. Maybe it's time to go on drugs to actually lower your cholesterol so that you can prevent the event of actually having a coronary heart attack or a stroke, etc. Because the data is very, very clear.
You know,
Or cholesterol, you can prevent that.
that is a situation that people don't seem to be talking about. Everybody accepts it as normal and necessary for men my age or for those who are 60 and above or have comorbidities. They accept it as normal and necessary na meron kaming maintenance, that we drink all this medicine and we see doctors like
Paramihan, ano?
Dr. Tamesis. Parang, hello, matanda ka na eh. Ganyan talaga buhay. But you never see women with their maintenance medicine. They never talk about seeing cardiologists or having maintenance medicines. Please take advantage of the program.
Well, I do have a bunch of, my clinic is actually very heavily skewed towards the seniors, right? And I do have quite a number of women who actually talk about their parties where they start comparing notes among themselves.
Yeah.
But yes, it is an important factor. That's a good point that you raised. We must be aware that women also get coronaries, but usually about 5 to 10 years later than men. And the reason for that is because ubos na yung estrogen nila. So it's important that we start thinking about strategies to now control the risk factors, particularly cholesterol, blood pressure, diabetes. These three are the main considerations, particularly in the elderly. I call them the perfect trifecta. Blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, ayan, high risk ka na.
Okay, now going back to Asian Hospital, you mentioned, ano yun, ano yung number mo?
8771-9000.
Oo, kasi 8771, parang pizza yun eh. Or something. 8771-9000.
Yes.
Okay.
Local 5913.
Okay, now we'll ask Gab if they caught that, if they could post it. But okay, so we can call and ask first, ano ba yung mga packages?
Right.
But how would the person know? Because Filipinos, hindi it's an emotional thing. It's an emotional thing. Like ayokong pumunta unless may maramdaman ako or unless I'm certain I can afford it or so I have the budget. So what are the signs that the person should observe and say, I better come in? Because me, I walked 300 meters, ended up on the banqueta, and I couldn't breathe. I just couldn't breathe. And I said, okay, we got a problem here, Beltran. So straight to the cardiologist, and he said, you got a block. Now, what are the signs that people should, because like, I have a caretaker, he told me, and then nahilo lang ako, sumakit lang yung, namanhid lang yung braso ko at saka yung binti ko. Sabi ko, excuse my language mga kaibigan, hoy gago, baka inatake ka na sa puso, tanga-tanga mo dyan, punta ka sa ospital. What should Filipinos bear in mind?
Anything that's really different from your usual behaviors, right? Just last night, I admitted an elderly woman. She just complained na parang hingal siya. She's 90 years old. She has lung disease, but then she suddenly felt different. This sudden change, these subtle changes, oftentimes are enough to actually be indicative of something going on. So, as change in the symptomatology, you better start alerting your cardiologist, have a discussion, even if on the phone, just so that maybe it's time to really assess you further. If you feel a certain discomfort, it's not even pain. Don't even call it pain. Just say na iiba. You feel discomfort, parang umiinit ang dibdib mo. It feels different. It feels warmer than usual. Then, especially after an effort of walking, all right, a slight incline uphill, you start feeling different. That might be a warning sign already. But yung mga tuldok na you use your finger, you can point to it and then masakit na, that's probably your rib. But if it's vague, mainit ang pakaramdam, or nawawala after resting, all right? These are really important signs and symptoms that you must bring to your cardiologist or the emergency room so they can properly assess you. And oftentimes, a resting ECG is not enough. Kailangan talaga magkaroon ng exercise stress test or a 2D echocardiogram. Combine pa nga, kino-combine pa nga namin ng exercise test and an echo para makita natin with the motions of the heart whether may nalalaglag or humihina ang palo. At that point, then we can discuss further what else is required, right? But the medication, kung sa medication naman, mura-mura na ngayon, panay generics na eh. So, pwede all of these generics.
Alin ang murang-mura?
Yung mga generics na, for cholesterol control. For
oo.
Highly
medication.
generic.
Naku po, napakamura ng mga kaibigan. Mas mura pa sa sigarilyo. Okay. But anyway, well, since you're talking pricing here, okay, 2D echo, stress test, kasi, I mean, hindi mura yung stress test because you have to hook up computers, you have to have a nurse, you have to have an attending physician in case bigla ka magka-atake, etc. But normally, what is the range for this? You have packages in Asian.
Right, we have packages for Asian and it encompasses everything already, right? Short of an angiogram. Kulang na lang angiogram dito. Approximately 12,600 for all in na yan. All professional fees are already included, the use of the makina and all that stuff. But I think what's really important is think of that as an investment in your health. Because if you find out that there's something going on, hey, that will save you the likelihood of even dying, right?
Well, no, I mean, look, you know, people spend 20, 30,000 for a telephone. You have to be an idiot, and I'm going to say this. You have to be an idiot, ladies and gentlemen, if you won't spend 12,500 or even 20,000 to make sure that you're not going to die within the next 3 months. Eh, naku po, may mga kaibigan akong ganyan. Dapat angioplasty. Doc, gamot na lang. Hindi inabot ng 3 months, patay na.
Yeah.
Okay, now, okay, so, but here's the thing, and call me crazy, okay, kasi I had a serious episode. I actually thought I had a heart attack. And when I got to the hospital, they said, my doctor said, sir, I have to put you on a 2D echo and stress test. And sabi ko, Doc, sumakit na nga yung dibdib ko. Baka pag in-stress test mo ako, matuluyan ako. Pwede ba mag-angiogram na lang tayo? Kaya kong kitahin yung pera eh. Yung katawan ko, hindi ko kayang kitahin pag ako na-stroke o in-atake. I mean, am I crazy?
Well, you at least you're ready and willing to find out, right? But there are reasons why we do it progressive-wise, right? Because symptoms are very, very helpful. But sometimes you really want to be sure before putting in a catheter with its own attendant risks. So we do things step by step. Some may call it academic, but I think it's really just smart medicine and taking care of the patient. Because syempre, we want the patient to be not exposed unnecessarily to risk. Now, the stress test naman, bantay na bantay yan eh. When they're, after kinabit na yung leads. And
ikaw naman, Beaver, ayaw nga namin mag-exercise. Pinag-exercise mo kami.
Hindi, sandali lang to. 5-7 minutes lang yan. So what kind of exercise are you really talking about, right? It's an medyo intense period lang. Just so that we can see what the heart is doing when there's an increase in demand for oxygen or energy by the body. And maraming nga pasyente, hindi pa pinawisan on the exercise test. Ayun na, kitang-kita na namin yung finding. So that way,
really? That bad? Because, I mean, I remember when I first failed, because I always have flying colors on the stress test. And when I first failed it, medyo talagang hingal na ako. Nasa level 4 na yata ako.
That's pretty good.
Biglang sabi ng doktor, sir, tigil na muna. Mukhang may problema eh. So he saw something suddenly at the 4th level. So, but so it's only 5 to 7 minutes. It's like a treadmill that progresses so that, but if there's a serious problem, you pick it up.
Yes. And somebody's always watching you, right? It's not just the nurse or the tech. There's always a cardiologist or training cardiology watching that monitor, watching you to make sure that nakikita na namin and we can stop the test at that point.
Ayun. Okay. Let's go for a quick break, Beaver. And when we come back, Dr. Tamesis will talk to us about Asian Hospital a little more, but also about what are the procedures or what are the things that all of us need to know regarding our health and the potential threats. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program Agenda, and please do stay with us for the rest of the program because we've been talking about heart disease, about the Asian hospital with a friend of the program, none other than Dr. Beaver Tamesis. Beaver, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you again, Cito.
Okay, now you've already pointed out two important things to the unfamiliar, which is first, cholesterol is not just about bulalo and pork chop. It can be a liver issue. So that's a problem. Second is that many women past menopause tend to catch up in terms of cardiac arrest, heart disease, 10 years after the menopause or even as early as 5 years, depending. Now, there's all this talk about hormone treatments, taking hormone whatever for women. I mean, is that going to help them?
Actually, for the longest time, hormones were actually maligned among women. Because there's this one huge observational study na ginawa sa US, the Women's Health Study, I think it was called, where they called into question or raised the alarm, can estrogen also lead to development of breast cancer, uterine cancer, etc.? So, syempre, between uterine cancer and heart disease, syempre, takot na talaga, right? I think people are now recognizing that there may have been an overreaction. So people are revisiting the role of supplemental hormones among postmenopausal women. The first 2 years is actually the most important. That's when potentially there's risk of developing all of these other complications. But once they get past that, hey, I've had patients who finally left this world at 95 years old and over 20 years of taking hormones. I mean, like did particularly well. Nadamay na lang siya because her kidneys just decided enough. Ayaw niya na sa mundong ito. So, no,
Ano na yun? Design obsolescence.
yes, mga bato na bumigay na.
Tinatawag na sila ni Lord. Okay, so anyway, going back to our discussion, people can call the Asian Center, tell them, but you said if they feel something off, if they have a problem with their breathing, shortness of breath, which I had on numerous occasions, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to emphasize this. 3 incidents na naglalakad lang ako sa hagdanan or sa ramp ng driveway sa studio, napansin ko na, teka, I'm physically fit, but hinihingal ako. And the tendency is to think, baka may asthma ka, baka may ubo ka. But then when it repeats itself 2 or 3 days, I go automatically to my cardio and I have saved my life 3 times because that's the case. Now, what other alarms are there, Beaver?
Well, of course, just knowing the fact that you have multiple risk factors, right? Lalo na tayo, mga lalaki. Any male above 40 years old with elevated blood pressure, with diabetes, and elevated bad cholesterol, plus a family history of coronary disease, I think it's really high time that we be aware and accept the fact that we are at risk for having coronary events.
Alam mo, yan ang complain ko sa magulang ko eh. Yung tatay ko, hindi ako iniwanan ng milyon-milyon. Iniwan sa akin, glaucoma. Yung nanay ko, hindi ako iniwanan ng milyon-milyon. Iniwanan ako ng plumbing. And listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, because apparently, my mother, until she had a heart attack, one side of her body had arteries that were not functioning. She had been operating on one set of arteries, not the complete package. And then when I had my complications, when she had been operated on, na stent siya, etc., sinabihan ako ng doktor, Cito, careful bakit? Delikado ba? Hindi, magiging mas makulit na ngayon yung nanay mo because con todo operation yung kanyang plumbing. But in my case, Dr. James Ho of the Heart Center pointed that out to me. You lucked out on the draw. I said, why? Because your veins or arteries, I don't know what term he used, have corners. Everybody has loops. You have corners. How on earth can you be so unlucky? So I could blame it on my mother. She only had half a set most of her life. But are there hereditary, what do you call it, features, biology or whatever that, pass on and we should all be aware of?
Yes, definitely. There is a very strong familial tendency for blood pressure. There's a very strong familial tendency for elevation of cholesterol. In fact, there are studies ongoing in the Philippines to look at people with familial hypercholesterolemia, where lahi talaga nila super high bad cholesterol. All right. We actually have those patients here in the country. And I know Dr. Roddy C. of the PGH has been collecting all of these patients and really studying them for what's the optimal treatment for these individuals. So yes, there is a pretty significant familial tendency. Haluan mo pa ng diabetes, which is very, very family-oriented. And then, of course, with the abundance of calories in our diet and the greater likelihood of being overweight or having obesity. And these types of risk factors really contribute to accelerating coronary disease, particularly haluan pa natin ng sigarilyo. So there are a lot of modifiable risk factors. There's some genetic risk factors we can't do about. But what's important is being aware of it, and actually going after that and reducing the numbers so that you can actually reduce your risk of developing these diseases prematurely.
Okay, now, as far as treatment options are concerned, because I talked to you about, you said that if I wanted or someone wanted to go in for a stress test, a 2D echo, we're talking in the range of how much was it? 12 to 17?
12 to 13,000.
Okay, 12 to 13,000. So okay, hello, kaya niyo yan. Buhay nyo nakataya eh. Mas mura yan kaysa sa kabaong, okay? So ngayon, yeah, I mean, it's reality, okay? Now, if the person is medyo elderly, handicapped, hindi kaya mag-stress test, stuff like that, obviously, angiogram is the next step. In fact, my tita in the US said, "You Filipinos, you gotta go for angiogram immediately. Don't tire yourself out. No doubt, no question. Yan, 100%. You have a problem or you have no problem. What say you, Dr. Beaver?"
Again, if there's a multitude of risk already present, right? She has all the risk factors, talagang likelihood mataas na meron tayong makikita. The coronary angiogram can be done, and it's a very reasonable cost, less than 70,000 pesos. That's all in, right? And then on that basis, we can decide whether or not the patient needs something more than medical therapy or patient kaya na ng gamot. And the nice thing now about doing coronary angiograms, hindi na dinadaan sa singit. Dinadaan na dito sa radial artery, right? Dito sa pulso. They can actually shoot the catheter through this and then go straight to the heart. So the patient is just lying there, and then once the procedure is done, konting pressure lang yan, observe for a couple of hours, then makakauwi na yan. And with after, syempre, it's good to have that discussion with your cardiologist before you go home to find out what are potential next steps that we need.
Yung angiogram ba, Dr. Beaver, is that covered by PhilHealth? Yeah, please explain that. No, go ahead. You can be informal. You can consult your team there. But because I'm a believer of angiogram. And, if half of it or 30% of it will be covered by PhilHealth, I'm saving my life. That's the bottom line of it.
Well, for sure, it's a bypass, If you actually need the open heart surgery, PhilHealth does have these Z benefits packages, and they partner with different hospitals to be able so that the patient can avail of these. And Asian Hospital is a partner with the PhilHealth when it comes to these Z benefits. These are really big ticket items everybody's so afraid of, right? So bypass is one of those that's covered. Kidney transplant is also covered by the Z benefits package.
But the angiogram, the basic, kasi huwag muna tayong transplant, boss. Baka na-abusin nyo nanonood. Hello naman, Cito. Angiogram lang yung tinatanong natin. Test lang.
Pwede. I mean, I know that there's a coverage for the coronary angiogram also.
Okay, now, so angiogram, and then, biglang sabi ni Dr. Tamesis, ang malas mo naman, bara ang tubo mo, we need to do a stent. I mean, when I first did a stent some 6-7 years ago, I nearly fell off my chair when I found out the cost of the stent. Back then, sa singit nga ang tusok, pagkatapos ay mahal yung stent pa lang, yung tube na gagamitin, napakamahal. But apparently, prices have gone down.
Right. Definitely. As more competitors have come in, the technologies improve quite dramatically. So the competitors are now basically the same quality, right? Kasi dati there was really yung really good stents, that fantastic data, and the ones that are medyo, you don't want to touch that. Now they're all the same. In terms of their comparability, in terms of
meron bang buy one take one dyan sa Asian Hospital?
Well,
hindi pa ako nadadali na single lang eh, laging double eh.
Yeah, yan din ang nakakainis, because it's depending on the extent of the disease kung saan talaga maglalagay to be able to open those up, and it's very difficult to predict until you actually see the coronary angiogram. Okay, saan tayo titira, saan tayo maglalagay. That's the only time you can plan for it, when you actually see the
But normally, how much does an angioplasty cost at Asian Hospital?
Should be less than 400,000, depending again on the number of vessels. However, pag dumadami na yan, I mean, syempre, you're starting to approach the level where, is it not better to just do an open heart surgery because of all of the numbers of all of the costs that will come in? I've heard of some patients in the past where they said absolutely no way sila magpapa-bypass or open heart surgery. Ayun, kinabitan ng over 9 stents. It's like, Really?
Seriously?
Bypass? Yes, seriously. There have been one or two of these that floated around our community talking when we were talking about just like, whoa, where did that come from? Imbis na mag-open heart, ayaw talaga magpa-open heart. So sige, tirahin na lang sa stent.
Hindi, kasi baka wala raw kayong makitang puso eh.
No, there's evidence na na a coronary angiogram. May evidence siya na may puso.
Okay. Nagbibiro lang tayo mga kaibigan. But yeah, no, because people might get shocked. 400,000, with PhilHealth, etc. It's still a viable option rather than, kasi ang dami, gagamutin ko na lang. To address that issue, people saying, gagamutin ko na lang, Doc, daan na lang natin sa gamot. Up to what point does medicine help, and up to what point, at what point do you say, sorry, Cito, walang gamot-gamot dito, we have to open you up or we have to do your tubes?
Well, sa initial look pa lang natin sa coronary angiogram, we can tell already whether this is somebody that must be done immediately. Particularly if you have what we call a left main equivalent. Basically, it's like a widowmaker. You're a walking time bomb. You can choose to be a walking time bomb if you want, but you're going to leave a widow.
Okay.
You're going to leave behind a widow. That's
How often can a person, or how frequent can a person have an angiogram?
Oh, he can have it every week or every month if he wants.
Hindi, pwede ba yan? Parang, okay, annual, nag-save na ako, nanalo ko sa sabong, magpapa-angiogram. Kasi some people say, delikado yan, may mga dye yan, may reaction, etc.
Right. So, I mean, like a reasonable frequency for looking at your coronaries, maybe once every 1 to 2 years, assuming that you know you have disease, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like at that point, the body should be able to tolerate the dye, should be able to tolerate the radiation that we subject it to. But that's being reasonable. Anything more than that, I think, would be excessive. And
excessive, yeah. No, because I've had at least 4 angiograms or 3 angiograms already. And when they were doing it, boss, wala ba kayong mas magandang music? Wala bang Beatles dyan o Bee Gees?
All right, you can take the soundtrack.
Diba? Staying alive, staying alive.
Okay yan.
Anyway, so Doc Beaver, perhaps I'll just give you this opportunity. Our conversation has been so animated, but I do hope our viewers are listening and listening well, because at the end of the day, we don't want people dying from a disease or a condition that is highly avoidable. So I'll let you take a minute to invite our viewers.
Yes, thank you again, Cito, for this great opportunity. This is really our Heart Month celebration. At the Asian Hospital, in fact, we have a week to celebrate the Heart Month. We actually have an art exhibit going on from February 21 to 24 in our lobby. It's a very, very nice set of arts that we can share. Really, our focus this year is alagang sulit, alagang deserve, to make sure that the Filipino gets the best possible care at the most reasonable price that's really quite accessible, right? We also do have on February 22 a heart-to-heart online conversation talking precisely about how to prevent heart disease, how to recognize that you have it already, and what can be done about it. So yes, Asian Hospital was founded by Dr. George Garcia. He's a fantastic cardiovascular surgeon. He's still around, but obviously we have now several teams of cardio surgeons if needed. But before that, of course, we have fantastic cardiologists here, all ready and willing to serve and give you the service that you all desire or need.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Beaver Tamesis. Hello to our friends at the Asian Hospital, and may God bless all of you out there. Have a great week.
Happy Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's. Okay, and now we close the program. We exhort you to pray for breakthroughs. Okay, we pray for breakthroughs, for salvation, reconciliation, healing, provision, and direction. Pray that this year, 2023, you would have faith to see God Do the impossible in your life, in your family and community, in our church, nation, and the world. God bless all of you. Please send out a special prayer for the people in Turkey and Syria. And like I said at the beginning of the program, unite with the family while we are still alive. Have a great day. God bless all of you. Keep it here on One News.